Hello and welcome to Taking You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP John Potts from the Two-Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. How you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great today. How are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Can't complain. Before we even get started, I wanted to bring this up to you without mentioning it to you because I wanted to see if you actually remembered this. 36 years ago, Continental for CCW, you guys had a tournament for a IROC Camaro. Do you remember that? Is that something that actually happened?
Did I win?
No, Danny Davis ends up winning.
That's what I thought. It was Danny Davis's Camaro. Yeah.
What
So
what,
I,
what was
huh?
the deal with that? What was the deal with that? It's interesting.
What do you mean? They had a Camaro up for grabs, and the winner of the tournament won.
I love it. It's such a great
You
idea.
never heard of that?
No, not in CCW, not for IROC Camaro. No,
Yeah, Danny Davis bought a new Camaro, and they decided to have a tournament for it, and he won.
I love that. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was, and it literally, it's on this date that we're recording on June 5th, back in '87. So I was just looking it up and seeing, like, oh, I wonder what Dr. Tom did on this date. And it just popped up, like, wow, wrestled for a Camaro in a
So who did I
tournament.
wrestle for that Camaro?
You beat Ken Wayne and you lost to Danny Davis.
Okay, at least I lost to the guy who won.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I just thought that was great because my dad used to have, maybe a midlife crisis back in the day, but he had an IROC Camaro on it. So I love that thing. And he ended up selling it to my cousin. And then my cousin years later ended up selling it. But my cousin a few years ago actually sent me a picture of the Camaro. He's like, look, the guy still had it. I said, oh my
Wow.
God, I want that. It's awesome. I just love the way it looks. Love that car. So cool.
Well, not on the same topic, but really off topic. You know, you've rode in a Corvette.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Corvette's the most uncomfortable car ever.
And they're too
Like
low to the ground. It kills my
way
back.
too low.
Yeah.
You feel everything, man. So the IROC was pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's awesome. I just love the way it looks, the way way it drives. Really, really cool car.
Yeah,
Brendan, it's a shame you didn't win it though.
yeah, it's a shame.
Kind of rigged though that Danny Davis won and it was his Camaro to begin with, right? It's kind of rigged.
Well, he happened to best everybody in the tournament.
But
So
was it his Camaro to begin with or no?
no, it was up for tournament. It was up for win, up for the
Oh,
winner.
so it was legit. So it was a real
Of course,
Camaro.
it
Okay.
was legit. You
Oh,
think we do
okay.
anything illegitimate? Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
okay. All right.
Yeah, Christ.
The modern day cowboy himself, Mitch. How you doing? Good evening, Mitch.
It is a happy Wednesday.
Hello, Barbara. Hope you're having a good week.
Well, I'm having a great week. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm having a great week.
Jason. Hello, Jason.
Yeah, everybody's wishing us a good week.
Hello, Spooky. Spooky says he likes the old Firebirds. Those were cool too.
Yeah, Michael Hayes and Terry Gordon, the old Firebirds. Oh wait, there's Freebirds. Sorry. Did I
Does
ever tell you
Danny?
I was in Alexandria one time, and I heard during intermission the announcer says, "Ladies and gentlemen, coming next week, returning back to the Alexandria Event Center is going to be the Firebirds."
Sure, they were happy about
10
that.
seconds later, he went, "I mean the Freebirds." Yeah. So anyway,
They could not have been happy.
yeah. Well, they weren't there, so
Oh, good. Okay.
yeah.
Hearing that though, they couldn't have been happy. Hearing that.
Well, I don't think they heard it. Only I heard it. Everybody else who was there that night.
It's
Returning back to the Firebirds.
Barbara wants to know how many wrestlers could fit in a Corvette. Tony Atlas kept a beer cooler in the back.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a travel car, that's for sure. I mean, if you're just going to be you and somebody else, but that was it.
Vince was obsessed with Corvettes, right? Didn't he have a collection of Corvettes?
That I couldn't tell you.
I know Austin ruined one of his Corvettes. Remember, he put the
Well, of
cement
course,
in it.
that was his That was Vince's Corvette that he drove to the town, especially that day. I remember.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he ruined it. He destroyed it, Austin.
I think he had a collection of 30 Corvettes.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Nope.
Brendan, I totally agree. You should get a rematch for the Camaro. Why not?
I don't think Danny has a Camaro anymore.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah.
So he wins it and then sells it. Wow, that's not.
Well, it's been 36 years.
That's true. True. I guess
Yeah.
we can give
Yeah.
him a pass.
Yeah.
Craig, greetings from British Columbia.
British Columbia. All right.
Have you ever been to British Columbia?
I believe I have.
Spooky says the Freebirds in a Firebird driving down Bad Street, USA. That'd be nice.
Say that 5 times in a row. The Freebirds and the
Yeah.
Firebird driving down Bass Street. Yeah.
Yes. Mitch says I won Hank William Jr. tickets today at the Pine Knob in Detroit off of a local radio station. Dr. Tom, are you free June 22nd? Let's go.
Oh man, I wish I was, Mitch, but I got to change the tips of my shoelaces that day. Can't change it. Can't get around that.
Are you a Hank Williams Jr. fan?
Well, who isn't?
Kalijah, maybe the best song, maybe, or maybe Country Boy Can't Survive. I know you love Family Tradition, but he is awesome, Hank.
Well, how do you know I love Family Tradition?
There's a rumor that you used to sing it as a karaoke song.
Who started that rumor?
You did a few weeks ago.
Oh,
You mentioned on the
sorry.
show
Sorry.
because I said Country Boy Can't Survive. It's got to be the great karaoke song. And you said, what about Family Tradition?
I did. Huh? Well, then, there you go. I couldn't be mistaken.
Hank is actually playing Atlantic City, New Jersey, not that far from me, July 26th. I kind of want to go, but the tickets were so expensive. Mitch is so lucky he won the tickets because
Well,
they're
maybe you can go with
expensive as hell.
Mitch. Maybe you can go with Mitch on June 22nd.
It's going to be a far drive. I know that.
Well, fly then.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
The tickets were nuts though here in Atlantic City in New Jersey. They were like almost, I think, between 150 and 200 pop for
Wow.
tickets. Crazy.
That's pretty reasonable compared to what some of the tickets are going for these days.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I just feel like, man, anything over 150 is just crazy. But yeah,
It's crazy.
Jason is saying 89 Trans Am 20th anniversary edition was faster than a Corvette. Ooh, the Trans Am.
No doubt.
Still loves the Corvette though. Still loves it.
Yeah, nice cars.
Didn't Sergeant Slaughter have a special vehicle he drove through New York?
Yes, he did, and it was parked at Titan Towers for many years. It's still since they've changed locations. I don't know where that limo is anymore.
And New Jersey too.
Yeah, he had a camo limo.
I remember, I think it was staying in the Highlands or Atlantic Highlands, somewhere in New Jersey, and people used to always say that they saw it driving through, like by the beach.
Possible. Sarge probably liked driving it.
Ibsen says when Vince won the case against the feds, the Macho Man live on Raw in front of Vince broke the story. Vince looked at the camera, then winked. Classic Vince. The first of Raw, August 1994, is when that was announced.
Okay, I remember it like it was almost 30 years ago.
Do you, speaking of Corvettes, speaking of what Ibsen's talking about, did you see that the feds are after him yet again? They paused the case for Janelle Grant for 6 months, and the DOJ is now going after Vince.
Why is DOJ now going after Vince?
We don't know. That apparently they have some sort of federal case against him. Could be sex trafficking. Who knows?
Well, who knows?
Do you think that they could still possibly be after him 30 years after he beat them? Are they after him yet again? I mean, do they have a vendetta? Are they bitter? Or they want to get him?
Well, I would think they'd be a little bitter over that. I think they still want some revenge. Get that guy.
I'm surprised you don't remember the wink. You were there in August of '94. You don't remember the wink?
I can barely remember what I had for lunch today. And you want me to remember what happened in '94 when he winked at the camera?
Come on, Ibsen remembered. He has a great memory. He's got a photographic memory.
Okay, you said it wrong. Ibsen remembers. There
Yes.
you go.
Yes. That is kind of funny, though. That is like so Vince. Like, hey, you just beat the federal government. Everyone else will probably be quiet. He has Macho Man announce it, and then he winks to the camera, like making fun of them, slapping their face, if you will.
If you will. And he did.
Man, I hope all's well with Vince. I saw a recent video of him, and I don't know if it's because he's got this lawsuit. Remember when in '94 or whatever, when he had the neck brace, '93, '94, he was wearing that neck brace to court, and it was for sympathy. I wonder if now he's walking around with a cane, he's walking real slow. I wonder if that's for sympathy or if he really is getting up there in age. You know what I mean? If he really is feeling his age.
Maybe he is. I mean, he's been training his whole life, and now he's, yeah, I don't know.
79 years old,
Yeah.
getting up there. Hey, great question by Brendan. What about the West Texas Rednecks with Kurt Hennig and Barry Windham, the best country group of all time?
Yeah, it was one of them. That's for sure.
Do you remember Rap is Crap, their great song?
Rap is crap. Sure I do.
Pretty funny, pretty good. I feel like Hennig maybe was handed something not so great there and really turned it into a home run, I think, anyway.
Yeah. I think Kurt was having fun with it.
Were you a fan of the West Texas Rednecks?
Of course I was. I'm from West Texas.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Spooky is saying Hank is awesome, but nothing beats the West Texas Rednecks. R.I.P. Kurt Hennig.
Yeah. I agree.
Would you take the Rednecks over Hank Jr.?
Any day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Good evening. The bad news, time flies. The good news, we're the pilots, says Phil. Interesting.
There's a promo for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Ragu. It's because of who he's friends with politically, meaning McMahon, why the feds are after him. Obviously, he's friends with Donald J. Trump.
Well, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mitch is saying he's buddies with Trump. They want him bad. I could see that.
Well, it's too bad.
Jason says, I find the vagueness of these investigations on Vince a little suspicious. Are you in agreement with Jason here?
Well, I haven't been following it that close, so yeah, I'd have to say it is a little suspicious.
Rap is crap. Michael is saying, Tom, is Vince being indicted by the feds?
I guess he is. Is he not?
It
He's being
seems like
indicted?
it. I don't think it was officially announced, but it looks like it's about to be officially announced.
Well, there you have it.
Spooky wants to know, what was your favorite feud growing up?
Valentine and Wahoo. Johnny Valentine versus Wahoo McDaniel.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I know they would chop the ever living hell out of each other. I know that.
Well, Johnny would throw those forearms, Wahoo would chop. But yeah, they would beat the hell out of each other.
Was that like one of your first like feuds when you started going to the live shows? Was that like the big main event?
Yeah, that was a big main event.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tom, didn't Vince have a legit bad neck at the time of the steroid trial? Do you know anything about that?
Well, I wasn't there, but I heard he did have he had surgery on his neck. So, yeah, he probably needed to wear the brace.
From the bargain hunter himself, fan of Dr. Tom from Bourbonville, Kentucky. Loved him and
That's
Jimmy Del Rey.
Barberville.
Oh, sorry, I'm Barberville, Kentucky. Oh, I never even heard of it. Barberville. Any memories of Barberville?
Well, all those towns in Kentucky were really good. We had a good time there. We had a lot of fun. Now, I can't remember any specific memories of Barberville, but I remember going to Kentucky because we lived in Knoxville at that time. I lived in Knoxville at that time. Everybody else lived in Morristown. And I wasn't going to live in Morristown. So, but I like Kentucky. I like the towns we went to.
He loved you and Jimmy Del Rey and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, by the way. He loved the
Awesome.
Heavenly Bodies.
Yeah, very cool.
Why didn't you want to live in Morristown?
You ever been to Morristown?
No, never.
Okay. Well, the best way I can describe it is once you're in Morristown, there's not a whole lot to do. And I like Knoxville. I like Knoxville as a bigger city. I lived off Paper Mill Road in Knoxville when I was in Smoky Mountain, and it was close to the mall. It was close to stuff that I needed to get to and wanted to get to. I wanted to be around. I didn't want to be around Morristown, Kentucky, or Morristown, Tennessee. I want to be around Kentucky or Knoxville. I'll get that one more thing. Redneck is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
It's true.
Great line by Kurt Hennig. Murphy says, "Good evening, lads."
Well, good evening, you Scottish.
Yeah, hello,
Fella.
laddie.
Yeah.
ATF, by the way, he wants to say for the record, both Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin, and I hate Hank Williams Jr. We get it. You're a drinking hillbilly rebel. Now zip it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the drinking hillbilly rebel. I have friends who are drinking hillbilly rebels, but that's for another day.
Man, I can't believe Ronnie doesn't like Hank Jr.
He does like Hank Jr.
Oh, he does?
Yes. Ronnie Garvin's a daggum drinking hillbilly rebel, too. He might be from Canada, but he's a drinking hillbilly rebel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Living in West Virginia for a while, so yeah, became that rebel. Ibsen said, Bruce, by the way, Bruce Prichard said, contrary to rumors, Jerry Jarrett was not supposed to be in charge if Vince went to jail. Linda, Gorilla, or anyone in particular was going to take his spot. So Bruce is saying,
I have no idea. So that's Bruce's deal. I don't know. Whatever he said, because I wasn't there at that time.
Now, I've interviewed Jeff and Jerry Jarrett. They've both said that Jerry was supposed to take over. Vince apparently was going to be calling him from jail, and he was going to be in charge of the company. And obviously, I think the history between Bruce and Jerry Jarrett is well documented, but Bruce was not a fan of Jerry for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Were you a fan of Jerry Jarrett?
Not at first.
But then you became a fan?
Yeah, once I got to know him.
If Vince wasn't in charge of WWF at that time, who could have been in charge? Who do you think was, the right guy to lead the company?
I don't know. Pat Patterson? Maybe Jerry Jarrett. Hell, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know what was going on in his mind at that time.
Hey, makes sense. Ragu says he has the WCW soundtrack CD on his phone, and he has that song, aka "Rap Is Crap." I got to download that. I used to have it. Now I got a new phone. I got to start getting all my old songs back on there. Love "Rap Is Crap."
Yeah, not a bad song.
Don't forget Bobby Duncombe Jr. was also in the West Texas Rednecks. Yes, and
yes,
Kendall.
he was.
And
yes,
Kendall.
he was.
Kendall Windham. Yeah.
Yeah.
Magazine Retriever says Dutch Mantel, Dirty Dutch, has an interesting critique of Dolph Ziggler. He says Dolph sells the same at the beginning of a match as he does at the end. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know what Dutch is talking about necessarily. I think Dolph is a hell of a worker and he sells accordingly. I don't know what Dutch would have to be a little more specific. I don't know what he's talking about.
I love Dutch, but he has some of the most odd takes I think I've ever heard in the history. He was telling me that Bret Hart wasn't that good, and I said he's probably the best, maybe ever. And he was saying he wasn't that good. I said, "Wow, what an interesting take." I've literally never heard anybody say that. Even people that don't like Bret wouldn't even say that he wasn't good. Very weird.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I have to know what Dutch is talking about. I really don't.
And Ziggler, I feel like he's one of as far as the guys of today, he's one of the best sellers. I would say.
I would say so too.
Was Corny at any point wanting to go back to his promotion while the feds were after Vince?
We didn't get there till the trial was over. So, no, I think Corny he didn't like the North and he wanted to go home because he hated the North. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know what Jimmy was thinking at that time.
The West Texas Rednecks were the second best group in WCW after the Four Horsemen legit. What are your thoughts on Katie Lee Birchill?
I thought Katie was very talented. I don't know why she left WWE, but I thought she was very talented.
Do you agree that the West Texas Rednecks were the second best group behind the Four Horsemen?
I don't know. I think they were probably third or fourth.
What about the NWO?
What about the NWO?
They got to be first, no?
Of course.
Yes. Dell. Paul Walter Hauser, the actor who played Stingray in Cobra Kai, has been wrestling for the Wrestling Revolver promotion. He says he wants to win a championship belt. Have you seen this, and are you liking this?
I have not seen it. Don't know anything about it.
He is a pretty funny actor, does a lot of comedies. Actually, he does serious roles as well, but he's a pretty serious actor. He just loves pro wrestling, gets involved. He wrestled Sammy Callahan. I mean, he's actually had a bunch of like legit wrestling matches. He was just in MLW over the weekend. Very interesting that when a guy from Hollywood kind of takes the business and loves wrestling.
Kind of like Logan Paul, isn't it?
Oh yeah, or
Yeah,
David Arquette even. Yeah.
David Arquette, sure. I kind of see that.
Are you familiar with Cobra Kai?
That'd be no.
It's on Netflix. Pretty good show. You got to check it out.
Well, I have to tune my viewing habits to what I have time to see and for what I really want to see.
Mitch wants to know, wasn't Linda McMahon part of Trump's cabinet, representative of Connecticut, or something like that?
Something like that. I think small businesses or whatever she was.
Yeah, the Small Business Administration. She was a part
Yeah,
of Trump's campaign for that.
yeah, something like that.
Did they really start taking out the water coolers at Titan Towers and other moments and other items, excuse me, during that time?
I don't know. I wasn't there during that time. They didn't take him out when I was there.
That was the old rumor that they were taking everything out. They were saving money, losing money. That's the rumor. But
Well, a lot of rumors out there.
Dave Cole. Hey, John, Dr. Tom, hope all is well. I remember Bruno wrestling Johnny Valentine at the arena in Philadelphia in the late 1960s.
Yeah, Johnny wrestled all the top guys.
Bruno, really interesting.
Yeah.
Barbara, didn't Dr. Tom tell us before Terry Funk was both a heel and babyface at the same time in Texas?
Terry was a babyface in West Texas and a heel in East Texas. Yeah. So the Funks had their home territory in West Texas and the Panhandle, and then he would come to Houston and Dallas and be a heel.
Terry, one of the all-time best.
Yeah.
Did you prefer him as a face or a heel?
I just preferred watching Terry Funk because he sold differently than everybody else. He did stuff that nobody else did. Very creative.
Do you have any good Buzz Sawyer backstage stories from Michael Rubin?
Nothing I can really tell, even though
Good,
Buzz is no longer with us. Yeah.
good guy, bad guy. What do you think?
Well, I had this discussion with was it with you about Matt Bourne or somebody else?
It might have.
Might have been about Matt Bourne, where I said Matt was misunderstood. Somebody
Yeah,
was asking me about it. Was that you I had this discussion with?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
think Buzz at the same time, while Buzz was out of his mind, I got along with those guys. So Buzz was Buzz backstage like he was on stage. Um, he was crazy. And back then, there were a lot more legit crazy people in this business. There's still crazy people in this business, but I mean, uh, it used to be a place where guys like Buzz Sawyer, Matt Bourne, that's the only place you really belonged. I mean, there was no place else in society for them except a place like professional wrestling where you would travel every day. That's when you wrestled every day, 7 nights a week, sometimes twice on Saturday and Sunday. And that's all they did. It was living on the road. So Buzz was the same as he was backstage as he was on stage.
man, what a reputation though for Buzz Sawyer. It was known, just to be kind of nuts.
No, he
Just
was nuts. He
to
was
put it nice.
definitely nuts, and I have an appreciation for people who are nuts. Um, so, but I have no backstage stories I can really tell.
Phil is saying, yes, Mitch. Linda was the small business czar, if you will.
Yes.
Chris Morale, that is it, says, could the I want to talk to Tom angle work today? A lot of women are being called out for fake claims in these, in these times, making the real abused go unheard or unseen. What do you think about that? Could they get away with that nowadays?
No, we couldn't do that these days. It's a different society, a different attitude today. You got to remember, this was back when no internet, no cell phones. Uh, it was wrestling, and it was in Alabama. So, yeah, I don't think we can get away with it these days. We barely got away with it back then.
Did you watch the Death of WCW documentary yet? Do you think Hogan, Nash, and Bischoff were all responsible for WCW going over? Of course, the Rock Vice documentary with the boys from Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think it was just a matter of everybody getting kind of full of themselves, and I think they even said it on there. The bigger it gets, the more it kind of loses its effect. So they had a great thing going for 83 weeks, as Bischoff's gimmick
Yep.
is.
Yep.
So they had a great thing going. I saw it. I thought obviously everybody has their opinion on what killed WCW, but I think it was just a matter of not paying attention to, thinking they're going to run Vince out. I think they took their eye off the ball, and they were worried about running Vince out of business instead of just continuing on with what they were doing. I don't know. I don't think you have to look at who was in charge at the end of the day, because obviously the executives at Turner Broadcasting didn't care for wrestling at all, so they weren't going to do anything to help it. And you certainly need somebody on your side when you're on TV. So,
Did Bischoff ever offer you to sign with WCW?
nope.
Damn. I just want to throw this out there because Ibsen sent me this. Here is a picture of Vince.
Well, where is that?
Recent picture somewhere in Connecticut with a fan. He stopped and took a picture. He does have a cane that he's holding there and an interesting hat.
Yeah. Still have the mustache.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's Vince lately, looking a little older, if you will.
Well, he is older.
Lead us in a verse here. I like country music. I like country girls. I like Willie Nelson. And don't forget about Pearl. There's only one thing that I hate because it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. Yes, great song.
There you go.
Great song. Superior Creations. I remember Prichard with the T, by the way, even though there is no T, in the 80s. He was a good worker, never over, though, because he wasn't that good. He should stop acting like he's a main attraction. He's lucky everyone has overrated him. This Super Creations is saying that you are overrating yourself and that the other wrestlers overrated.
I don't believe I ever overrated myself. That's okay, Super Creation. By the way, take the T out of Prichard and put it on your back. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com. If you learn how to spell my name right, it'd be a little different story.
Yes. Murphy, by the way, he saw Lem and Clem today. Lem said, hello, Dr. Toms. Clem still has the stutter.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Murphy. You should stay away from them.
Michael said, Tom, did Tony Anthony accidentally choke you during the hanging spot legit?
That was no accident. I think he meant to, yeah.
Is that not a good thing, though? I mean, got to look out for.
Well, I didn't say it was a good thing. I'm just saying he probably meant to hang me.
Wow, wrestler safety there, dirty white boy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well.
Phil loves Willie Nelson and Toby Keith's Beer for My Horses. Great song.
I don't know that song.
Oh, yeah, Toby Keith. Great stuff. When you were a trainer for WWE, was it a daily job or just several weeks on?
It was my daily job.
The Varsity Club also would rank high in WCW according to Barbara. I agree.
I agree.
When you were a trainer for WB, how did your schedule actually work?
We would go 5 days a week in the ring, and we had weekend shows. That was an FCW. OVW was pretty much the same way. They had shows. I forgot when they did their TV. Maybe it was Thursdays. I don't recall, but they would have weekend shows as well. I would go down there for a week, half a week, and then I'd go to Heartland Wrestling Association in Cincinnati for half a week, then go back home to Connecticut, and I would do that every month. Go down there every month, check it out.
Did Dr. Tom see any ribs from Mr. Perfect? What was the best rib?
Kurt used to like to put somebody's shoe in a toilet, so they come back. That's when I saw.
Always heard that he would blame somebody else when it was
Of
really
course.
him, and you kind of knew, like, why is he being so like vocal about it? He's got to be involved somehow.
Yeah, that was Kurt.
Was there anyone you tried to pitch to get to signed in WWE, like how JR pitched for Mick Foley to get signed? So anybody you saw you wanted them to bring in?
There was a couple of them. Aaron Stevens I brought in. Aaron
Flash
Stevens
Flanagan?
was Flash Flanagan. Yeah, there's a few. I can't remember right now. Aaron Stevens comes to mind because he's with NWA right now.
He is forever in your debts for that one.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Used to love the Mizdow gimmick when he was pretending to be the Miz.
I think he did too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever live in the same town as the training facility, or were you there for a few weeks, then you go home, etc.?
No, I lived in Tampa for FCW. Moved there.
When you were doing the training in Connecticut, you lived in Connecticut or you lived in New York?
Lived in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Lived in Sanford.
You know it was an overpriced hellhole. You know that.
Of course I know that.
All right.
Everything up in the Northeast is an overpriced hellhole.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Frank Nordquist, WCW told Bobby the Brain Heenan that they didn't want him making suggestions for how to improve their product. This was a big mistake. Bobby came up with the Razor Ramon toothpick toss.
Well, I think if you watch the Who Killed WCW, you'll notice that they didn't want to hear anybody try to improve anything there. So,
yeah,
it's not surprising.
Yeah, not uncommon there. Ibsen says, "What was the I want to talk to Tom angle about for those who don't know?" Interesting.
Well, we did an angle where the dirty white boy beat up the dirty white girl, and she was trying to call me to get me to feel sorry for her, and then the dirty white boy was going to attack me and hang me from the interview stand. Drag me from the interview stand all the way to the ring, and then hang me from the ring. That was basically it. It was a domestic violence angle that we could not do today.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Mitch is sticking up for you. He's telling that guy Superior, he says, "Get a dog, name it Life, so you have one."
There you go, Mitch. But that's all right. I'm cool with anybody who wants to say whatever they want. It's free speech.
Are you surprised that Sexual Chocolate Mark Henry, your old trainee, was released from AEW?
No, not really. It seems like they're letting a few people go. They're letting him go. They're letting Arn go. They're letting who else? Jake Hager. So that doesn't surprise me too much, if at all.
And I know Tony apparently was saying that he didn't like what Mark was saying on the Busted Open podcast or the Busted Open radio show about AEW. But from what I heard, he was almost just giving like suggestions of how to improve the product, not really tearing it down, just how to make it better.
Once again, some people don't want to hear how to improve the product. They think they've got their mindset, and I understand that. I mean, I have my mindset on things too, and unless I feel it, I can't agree with it. But if that's what Tony's upset about, then so be it. it's his company. He can do what he wants with it.
Barbara, in the death of WCW, it seemed like Hulk Hogan had a big ego and had creative control over his gimmick. That might have hurt the company. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think once again, if you get something so big and the finger poke of doom, and they talked about the finish with Sting and Hogan as well in there. So yeah, it might have had something to do with it, but at the end of the day, I think it was doomed because nobody in Turner Broadcasting wanted that to succeed.
Man, Brad Siegel, who I've talked to before, who's a little smug, let's be honest, he did not come off well, to say the least, in
No,
that documentary. He did not come off well at all.
but they're elitist anyway. They didn't look at wrestling as something that was it was beneath them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I got a little heads up from somebody that told me Brad Siegel was going to be on the doc, and they said he is exactly, how you would think he is. And I was like, oof, not good.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people are.
Scorch, I have a question for John. Do you like the movie The Wrestler starring Mickey Rourke? Yes. Very good movie. I very much enjoy that a lot. I actually have a poster of that movie. I like it so much. But yeah, did you like the movie The Wrestler, Dr. Tom?
Yeah, it was very depressing. Really
That's
depressing. Yeah.
good movie, but definitely depressing.
Yeah.
The Varsity Club made a brief comeback at the end of WCW, but it was squandered. Yes. Very odd booking of it. Kind of strange the way they just randomly put them back together. It kind of didn't make any sense. They told Sullivan, who was retired, hey, you got, and he had the retirement match a few years earlier, lost to Benoit. He was retired. They said, oh, we need you to come back and wrestle a match. And it was basically like a one and done without any explanation. So it's very strange.
Yeah. Whoever was in charge was making sure it was going to go overboard.
Not good. Any memories of Mr. Perfect's father? Did you ever, or did you see him wrestle growing up? Did you ever meet the Axe?
I met the Axe at the Hall of Fame, and that was the only time. So never saw him wrestle in person, but did meet him.
I remember when Aaron Stevens got signed. I used to watch him on the indie scene. Such a great guy, very deserving.
Very deserving, smart guy. Very smart guy.
What was the feud, or was the feud legit behind the scenes in the 80s besides Savage and Hogan? So, what feud was legit behind the scenes in the 80s besides Savage and Hogan?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of them, man, but I can't think of anything in the '80s right now except Flair and maybe Dream. But I mean, that was a great rivalry. So I don't know. I don't know anybody who would rate alongside Savage and Hogan. Or you're asking besides Savage and Hogan? I know, but I can't think of anybody in the '80s. In the '90s it was Brett and Sean.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Can Dr. Tom tell the story of how he got the doctor gimmick? I believe it involved Robert Fuller.
Yes, it did involve Robert Fuller, involved Sherry Martel too. Sherry Martel gave me some doctor pants, and I was wearing them to a town one day. They had a doctor that was on TV, wanted by the FBI, so he had to disappear real quick. And I happened to be wearing my doctor's scrubs on the way to a town with Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden, and they saw my pants and they said, "Boy, you could be our doctor." So that's how I got my doctorate degree. In the parking lot of a 7-Eleven going to Panama City, Florida.
Love it. I love it. Jason says, hasn't the Who Killed WCW story been told a couple of times already? Because this new one doesn't seem to be adding anything we haven't already heard.
No, I think this new one is just probably The Rock wanting to kind of put it out there because Rock was in WWF at the time. So, he has that gravitas now. So I guess he's getting to put it out there and have people say what they want to say.
But it is interesting if you read the Nitro book by Guy Evans, which is awesome. It does kind of lend some new eyeballs, which obviously this documentary will kind of bring that to light in the next few episodes. But there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on behind the scenes from the corporate end. Like they were saying that WCW had all these losses. They would take losses from another part of the company and just throw it in WCW to make it look even worse. I mean, and they interviewed all these guys. He has 120 interviews of executives only, of guys that work behind the scenes who say, "Oh yeah, we would massage the numbers here and make WCW look worse." And so there is more to the story, but it's really like fascinating because everyone always goes, "Oh, the creative sucked." Well, WB creative sucked for 20 years. It's got to be it's got to be more than just the creative sucked. For a company to lose money and to be sold, and
Well,
and and for it to be sold for 4 million instead of 65 million is nuts.
yeah, I mean, they just had people who didn't like wrestling for broadcasting, and that pretty much sucks. Being sabotaged like that.
Yep. Aaron is great, Massachusetts guy too.
Yeah.
They have a few friends in common. He's hoping to meet him sometime. And Brendan says he is a great guy, super nice.
Yes, he is. He's talented, very talented.
Do you think there's a Dr. Tom in AEW who knows how to train the wrestlers well, or is it just rookies training other rookies over there? Do they have some?
Well, they have guys like Dean Malenko still there, and they had Arn, and they had Mark, and Billy Gunn, things like that. So they've got guys that can help and train, but you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. So you can show them where it is and tell them, but I mean, unless they want to do it, they're not going to do it.
Dustin too. Dustin's over there training.
Dustin Rhodes is over there, yes.
A magazine retriever, Ric Flair was angry that he wasn't interviewed for the Death of WCW feature. I think Rick was excluded because of the fallout from the Plane Ride of Hell episode of Dark Side of the Ring. What do you think about
Hmm.
that?
There's a possibility, but I don't know. I didn't know he was upset about it.
I actually did at one point confidentially speak with somebody, around that show, and they did mention that there was some heat from the Flair side. But I bet you, and I don't know this for a fact, but I bet you they didn't ask Flair because they thought there was heat from the Plane Ride from Hell. They probably thought he would say no. That's just my guess because of what this person told me. But
Maybe.
I have a feeling they would have interviewed him if they could have, but they probably thought they had a lot of heat with him.
Yeah, I could understand why. So, but who knows? I mean, I haven't talked to Rick. I haven't talked to anybody around Rick, so don't know.
He is kind of the face of WCW, so it would have been nice, I guess, to get him on there. But I guess they can grab old interviews if they wanted to.
Sure.
Spooky is saying Aaron is also the master of Mongrovian karate. Remember when
Yes.
he was doing that funny gimmick?
Yes, I do.
Damn it! What the hell was the name of the guy he was with doing that gimmick?
Josephus.
Josephus, and the man under the mask. Yes.
Yes, but I don't remember on the mask. It was whatever. But he was, yeah, Josephus since passed away.
Yeah, unfortunately, crazy.
Yeah.
Love that gimmick. He was pretty good. He was actually good as Josephus too, obviously. But damn, what a shame. Dell is saying, Dr. Tom, Jake Roberts said that Gypsy Joe had his opponents whack him in the back with a steel chair to the point where they hurt his kidneys. Gypsy Joe lived dangerously.
One thing about Gypsy is he did live dangerously, and he was a tough old son of a bitch, and he liked laying it in and having it laid in on him. So yeah, he was a tough guy, crazy guy, but he was a tough guy. It goes back to those crazy guys again, who I fondly admire.
Interesting with him. He's not like a big guy. Like, shouldn't a bigger guy be doing that gimmick where he's just like taking abuse? Or do you like Gypsy Joe taking that gimmick?
Well, I thought he was nuts for taking the gimmick, but that was his gimmick. I mean, he was just that guy. I think he got shot with a 22 pistol and took the pistol away from the guy and pistol whipped him and beat him up and waited for the cops to come arrest him.
Oh, geez.
In Nashville, yeah. He was that kind of guy.
I love it. Ragu is throwing out there Tom Billington and the Fabulous Rougeos. I'm trying to remember why, but he's throwing them out there, which I love. But Ragu, just give us a heads up, because it refresh my memory of why you're mentioning Dynamite and the Rougeos. But Michael wants to know, how did guys work together when they didn't get along? I guess making money makes them cooperate.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the key. I mean, it's just like Brett and Sean. They didn't like each other, but they'd go out and have these great matches. So yeah, it's about being a pro at the same time. You don't have to like somebody to work with them.
Barbara saying, I'd say Matt Bourne and Playboy Buddy Rose had a legitimate feud. He married his sister, and that created a lot of heat.
Oh, well, that's what he was talking about with Dynamite and the Rougeos.
Oh, yes, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Buddy
Good point.
Rose,
Yeah.
Buddy Rose and Matt Bourne. I can see why. Yeah, I can see Buddy married Matt's sister, and that I can understand that.
Yeah, Dynamite and and especially Jacques Rougeau, big time.
Yeah.
Raymond would not get involved. He said
No.
Jacques got to handle himself. Raymond, a legit tough guy. Jacques is not. So he said you got to handle it yourself.
Well, he became a tough guy that night when he broke out Tom's teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. What wrestler do you wish that you could have completely retrained to be more successful? What wrestler do you wish had that basically the talent and had their success?
Occam Albrecht, Brackus.
Yes.
You know, I wish he could be more successful.
I love the Brackus, as Vince would refer to him, the Brackus.
Yeah, nice guy, but he just never caught on.
Ragu is mentioning he bought the Death of WCW book 14 years ago. I got to be honest, it's funny. Those guys, Alvarez and Reynolds, said, and I like both those guys, but they said the book is the same as Nitro. It is nothing like the Nitro book. The Nitro book is way more detailed, way more interviews. The Death of WCW is just making fun of the creative. That's all that is.
Yeah.
The Nitro book is so much better, so much more detailed. Timeless Tom, great old school wrestling. Timeless Tom, I like that.
Is that like Timeless Tony Storm?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
I know during your run at WWF, you and Owen were heels at the time. Did you ever get to work with Owen at all?
I never got to work with Owen. Never did.
I was just watching your Brett match the other day. I love it.
Yeah.
The Monday Night Raw match. Frank Dorquist, why do you think the infamous Plan B videotape didn't get the wrestlers involved blackballed from professional wrestling?
I think it did. Yeah, I think it did for a while. I think Bob Roop was banned for a while, was blackballed for a while, and
the Great Malenko.
Malenko was blackballed. Yeah, I think some of those guys were.
Funny, Orton and Garvin, right? They didn't get any sort of heat for it, or did they?
Well, they did in the beginning, and then it kind of cooled off.
Andrew Machado, does Dr. Tom think the Turner executives would have kept WCW around had it not been losing so much money?
I don't think so, because as I said, the executive didn't seem to enjoy wrestling too much, so they were out to kill it. They were going to cut the head off.
I don't think they would have kept it no matter what. I mean, they were dominating, making millions, and then they still hated it.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan said there is no reason for Goldberg to lose in WCW. Dr. Tom, do you agree? Did ego play a big part in the decision? Thank you.
Well, I'm sure ego did play a big part in that decision. I don't think Goldberg needed to lose at that time, but what were you going to do with him? He's going to have to lose to somebody, and so I guess Kevin Nash would be the guy.
Going back to Josephus, the question mark. Yeah.
Question mark. Yeah, that's true.
I can't believe I forgot that. That was such a great gimmick. The question mark.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah, I love that. And doing the karate. So good. Ragu says Jericho told Conrad Thompson, you need a strong leader to run a wrestling promotion. I understand this after WCW.
Well, yeah. You do need a strong leader to run a wrestling promotion, because there's all kind of egos and elements involved that you don't know how you're going to handle. So you need to know how to handle everything.
Tom, which partner did you feel you had more chemistry with? The Gigolo, Jimmy Del Rey, or Chris Candido?
Candido was a great partner, but I think Jimmy and I were doing better as the Heavenly Bodies.
Mark Lewin seemed like a very good athlete who later became crazy. Was this a good move for him?
Yeah, because Mark was crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't he legit crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark was legit a badass crazy guy.
Scorch says years ago, the WWE wrestlers were asked to dress business casual, quote unquote, in Europe, and CM Punk wore his regular gear, citing John Cena. Undertaker supposedly told Punk, "You're not John Cena."
Probably. Supposedly, probably. He did. But again, I wasn't there, so that makes sense.
Although at one point, Punk was definitely a bigger draw than Cena. There's kind of facts and evidence to back that up, but for some reason, they did not want to go with him. They just didn't like him for whatever reason
Well,
at that point.
at that point, that's what happens.
The Nitro book was phenomenal from Guy Evans.
Okay.
Jacques, after Dynamite, says he had incidents with the Steiners, Ludwig Borga, and JBL, where the wrestlers allegedly all backed down from him. Interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that happens sometimes.
Magazine says, I think Ray Rougeau had to be so tough because he had two larger younger brothers. His ego couldn't handle his younger brothers being able to beat him up.
That makes sense, too.
Paul, don't call me the big Ron Shaw, says, ex Dr. Tom, if he heard anything about David Allen Coe pistol whipping people backstage at the Great American Bash in 1995.
No, I never heard that.
Excuse me, 85.
No, 1985. No, I never heard that.
Remember when Dusty brought David Allen Coe back for Great American Bash for the tour?
Well, yeah, but I never heard about him pistol whipping anybody backstage.
Right.
So, yeah, I heard about David Allen Coe coming to the Bash. But, I mean, he asked him about the pistol whipping backstage. Who the hell is he going to pistol whip?
Not Nikita Koloff or one of those guys. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Did I ever ask Dr. Tom about the Koloff Sheik plane fight? What's going on there, Dr. Tom?
I don't know.
Koloff and Sheik on the plane.
I have no idea. I wasn't on the plane when Koloff and Sheik had their fight.
Do you think that the AEW will get a better offer from Warner Brothers Discovery? Apparently, the offer was low. Do you think that they're going to get a better offer?
I don't know because I don't really watch AEW. But if they're not making drawing ratings, then why are they going to get more money?
Yeah, ratings are down big time.
Yeah. So, what's the incentive? I have no idea.
Doug Masters, the legendary.
Doug Masters,
Doug. Wants to know how you're doing.
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Doug?
Nice, Doug Masters. Dr. Tom, why don't you tell everybody where they can get your book and maybe even an autographed copy?
Wow, that's great. You can get the book if you go to jpwrestlingacademy.com, click on the training tab at the top of the page, the book will come up. And if you want a signed autographed copy, just email me at jpwrestlingacademy@gmail.com, and we'll get one out to you.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. You can follow Dr. Tom at Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, he's saying, Big Paul Shaw, he smacked around some roadies.
Huh. Well, I wouldn't know about that. I wasn't there.
Barbara's saying she was going to ask you about your book. Look at that.
Well, nice. That's a good job, Barbara. Thank you.
Jason is saying, thank you. May good fortune do a run-in for you throughout the foreseeable future. Wow.
I hope so.
Wow, that's kind of poignant there. I like that. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mitch. Barbara, of course, always mentioned that you're long overdue for the Hall of Fame.
Well, not according to who's the guy earlier?
Superior Creations, I think it was.
Yeah. That's all right.
He said overrated. Yeah, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, that's too bad.
David Allen Coe would never pistol whip Road Warrior Hawk.
That's true.
And B40, just to throw this out there, saying, look at the ratings and take one look at the audience. Why would any company advertise with them?
Well, that's a $1 million question, I guess.
Yeah, that it should be interesting to see what the offer is and what they get, and if they're going to go back to Warner Brothers. Very, very interesting. Dell, last question or last comment here, throwing out there. He likes watching YouTube videos of Dr. Bo Hightower giving retired pro wrestlers chiropractic adjustments.
Well, that sounds riveting.
I love it. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. See you next week, folks.